With the World Cup coming up, we're going to just run through six very interesting golf holes at Kingston Heath first up. Going to start with the second hole, which is dogleg right to left, about 350 metres, not a long hole. The only right to left dogleg at Kingston Heath. Of course, it has some shape in a lot of the holes, but not severe shape like the second hole does. Almost a 90-degree dogleg, but it's a very subtle hole. It's dominated really by the right to left slope on the green if you look at the hole backwards, which is a good way to look at playing a golf hole. And the way the green sits, it sits at the outside of the dogleg, so you would think that you want to hit it to the end of the fairway, to the right side of the fairway, to get up that angle. But the tricky thing about the second is that the right to left slope on the green is quite severe, and you're actually better off coming in from the left side of the fairway close to the bunkers, because you're then hitting into that right to left slope, and it's a lot easier to control your shot and get a birdie opportunity from there. So you want to try and hug it close to the left bunkers off the tee if you can, which obviously brings a bogey or worse into account, because you're hugging those left bunkers. About 220 metres off the tee is the perfect shot, so often better players will use less than driver, 2-iron or 3-wood, try and sit in the pocket where you can hit up into that right to left slope. There's also a severe drop off on the back left of the second green, so if you're coming in from too far out or from the right hand side, you can very easily, especially when the greens are firm, run off the back left edge and miss the green even though you've actually landed on the middle of the green. So it's a very subtle hole in that way. It's a really good hole to think of in reverse. Look at the green first and then try and figure out where you want to be coming in from with your approach shot. Because there's a lot of fairway, we expanded the fairway there about 5 years ago to almost, it makes the hole more playable because there's not as much rough just off the edge of the fairway, but it also sucks you into thinking it's an easy bailout to go right away from the bunkers. But when you do that, there's more undulation there, you don't get a flat lie, you've got a much longer approach shot in, so you're using a mid-iron, more 5 or 6 iron. On firm greens, that makes it difficult to control your spin, and you can often run off on that back left section of the green, which I just mentioned before. So it's a very subtle hole. It makes you think from the first shot all the way through to the last shot. The very, very longest hitters can try and carry the bunkers, but the fairway sits at a 90-degree angle there and it's very narrow, so you can run through into the sandy waste and rough area. So you might only have an 80 or 90 metre pitch in from there, but you might be doing it from a very difficult lie. Wind dependent again, obviously a right to left northerly, you can start the ball out to the right and bring it back into the perfect spot. Becomes a very difficult hole, one of the most difficult on the course in a southwesterly, when the wind's pushing your ball away from the bunkers, and then you've got a shot straight into it for your approach shot. It's a hole that probably looks easier than it plays, and it regularly ranks about 4th or 5th difficult, even though it doesn't show that on the card.